Hey Benny Buss and everyone else who's watching. This is the first video of a new series I'm starting. Where I'm gonna read the Chronicles of the Robbos series just to make it more convenient, so I don't have to come over to your house and stuff. This the first story is Mum's story, and she has powers. She's called the Ice Witch, and I'll just read it on. It goes for 10 minutes, so this video is going to be pretty long, but that's okay. Right, here we go. We can't live like this anymore, Dad solemnly announced to everyone. What do you suppose we do? Mum questioned, Inferno sizzling in her arms. We need to move to the 5 main sources of agents in the world, Dad replied. Australia, Africa, Russia, Asia, and England. What if not all of us make it? Luca asked. Dad put his hands on Luca's shoulders. We will. Okay, here's the game plan. All the robbos huddle up in a circle. Luca, you're going to Africa. Bodhi, Shanghai. Jackson, you stay here. Kerri, you go to Russia. And I'll go to the main course, England. Chapter 1, The Plane. Excuse me, ma'am, the flight attendant said as Kerri strapped on her seatbelt. There are no dogs allowed on this plane. Really? Kerri's icy eyes pierced into the flight attendant's. Actually, there are dogs allowed on this plane. She mumbled as if she was reading a script. Inferno! Ruff! I told you to hide, remember? The conductor's voice rang out through the air. Next stop, Moscow. Approximately 14 hours until we land. The massive plane took off into the sky. Not on my watch, Kerri said. Ruff! Sorry, not on our watch. Sorry, I didn't really explain what's going on. Some people are aware of the robbos' powers and will do anything to get the powers for themselves. These people hire professional assassins and clone them, calling them agents. The robbos must eliminate the agents and destroy the people who want their powers. Kerri and Inferno stalked up to the cockpit, and the co-pilot looked around at her. I need you to open the doors, she demanded. But the plane's moving! Kerri's eyes turned icy blue. Yes, ma'am. The air suddenly dropped at least 10 degrees and Kerri was getting tugged towards the open door. Come on, Inferno, let's fly. They rocketed out of the plane. Chapter 2, Flight. Wind whipped her head as she fell from the plane and into the clouds. Kerri felt a tug in her gut. Her skin froze over and she outstretched her arms. A trail of frost began to form behind her. She was flying. Inferno was the same. She was now a ball of blazing flames. Kerri always knew she could fly, but she still was fascinated by it. She never really got to test her powers in the open, but now they were threatened, she could use them all she wanted. Inferno! She cried. Ruff! It replied. Catch! Kerri threw a snowball into the horizon. Inferno zoomed off in a blur of red and Mum raced after her. A sonic boom ran through their ears as the plane was lost in the distance behind them, and they pulverized the snowball into vapor. Kerri was gaining on Inferno, but Inferno was gaining on Moscow. They were approaching speeds of nearly 10 times the speed of sound. My dogs! Kerri shouted. Instantly, Inferno dropped out of the sky and turned into a normal dog, and Mum caught her in her arms. The countryside had a carpet of planes and machinery. A slight frost coated the plains and runway, filling her blood with magic. They landed lightly in the airport of Moscow, Molly shivering slightly because of the cold. There was the normal workers, chatting, waving flags through the lightning raining, but there was a black-suited man, his face blank, standing next to a tree in a nearby forest. Inferno! Molly was engulfed in flames. Tread carefully. The man walked past in perfect stride, like he was marching in the military. Submit, or I'll have to forcefully submit you, it demanded in a smooth voice sounding in her head, instead from its non-existent mouth. Put your hands in front of your body, he said. Kerri did as he said. He cuffed her and Molly's hands together and leaned towards his walkie-talkie. But what he didn't do was watch the frost form over the shiny cuffs and the quiet click of the handcuffs disconnecting. Kerri threw an ice-powdered uppercut into the agent. He stumbled backwards and was thrown to the ground by a furious sidekick. Inferno caught on fire and heaved a massive flame out of her mouth, turning him into dust. Come on, Molly. The fire was put out. We need to track down the enemy base. Mum picked up the walkie-talkie and turned it on. Are you there, Agent? Do you have the targets? The voice sounded from the device. Tell me where your base is. Mum put all of her power into the words. 45... Wait, no, I'm not telling you where our enemy base is. Traitor! He recovered too early. Damn, she was going to have to do it the hard way. Chapter 3, The Blind Man. Kerri and Molly approached a group of shops at some markets. Some were selling the normal stuff, bracelets, cutlery, vegetables, but there was this one shop, prophecies, that looked like it just shouldn't be there. Mum walked up to this abnormal shop and pushed through the snake-like beads that hung limply from the ceiling. Everything about this shop looked off, like the way the man grinned and stared at the doorway, or like him next to him, the steel door with several chains barricading the handle. Or maybe it was just the two distant dark figures erected lifelessly at the back, their faces half hidden in darkness. Sit down, young one, the old dusty man croaked, his frail hand beckoning to the left of Kerri. But from the way his pale eyes stared aimlessly into the distance, and the way his big ears twitched every now and then, indicating he could even hear the slightest shuffle of a mouse, Kerri could tell this man was blind. Mum did as he said, taking a dusty plastic chair and sitting in it like a preschooler. I will tell you your prophecy, Kerri Robertson. The way he spoke those words sent a chill down her spine. Despite the boiling weather, he said it like he had been studying her for weeks, and only in the last minute did Mum realise what was going on and who the figures in the corner was. The blind man pulled out a sharp knife about as long as his elbow to his hand, and flew out of his seat, knocking the light out and engulfing them into darkness. You're in my domain now, I switch, he croaked. Kerri could hear his footsteps stalking her, waiting for the right moment to capitalise. But there's something you didn't consider. What? Inferno! What happened next was complete chaos. First, Inferno leaped in the air and hurled a massive fireball at the blind man, blasting him into the wall behind him. The two agents from the corner of the room sprinted towards Kerri, and their batons froze. Finally, Kerri summoned two ice blades in each hand. Kerri sliced one of the agent's guts open and followed up with a sharp hook, shattering his cheek. The second agent planted a hand on Kerri's shoulder and planted a thought into Kerri's mind, saying, Surrender and we'll spare your life. Mum spun around and snapped his wrist with the elbow. Then she pounded a front kick into his gut, winding him, then threw 3 punches where the nose should have been, dazing him. The battered agent threw a sloppy hook, but Mum ducked and pulverized him with the blade through a skull. He froze instantly. The first agent got back up and Kerri threw the second one into him, turning them both to dust. She turned around to see Inferno launch a column of flame at the blind man's already charred face. Inferno, I got this, Kerri said. Inferno roughed and backed away, not looking away from the man. I don't want to hurt you, she said coldly, pun intended. Well, I do. He ran from the wall and swung the blade far, but Kerri parried with her own sword, and then he swung low with the sweep kick, but Kerri dived out of the way and landed a jumping front kick on him, sending him careening through the table. He sprang back up and launched a swift right hook and a side kick, both of which Kerri blocked efficiently. Then she returned with an icy headbutt, which sent him stumbling backwards. She then sprang up and knocked him into the wall with a 540-degree roundhouse. Now, tell me where is the leader of the agents, she asked. Do you think I'll tell you? You're a woman. In case you forgot, it's 18 now. A year that marks your tomb, unless you tell me. She pressed the blade deep into his throat. Okay, jeez, I'll tell you. It's 45 Kent Street. Security is possible to bypass by brute force. He puffed. Good. She smashed his head right through the concrete wall. Rough, Inferno roughed. Oh, Molly, Inferno was distinguished. Mum walked out of the snake-like beads once again and turned around to give it one last look. But it was gone. It was like the building was erased from existence. Kerri shrugged it off. She had a whole family of people who were thriving with magic. Why couldn't this just be one magic market? There was a man walking down the street who looked like he was well accustomed to the city, so Kerri asked him, Excuse me, do you know where 45 Kent Street is? Down the road, turn right, and follow a path across the park into the mansion's driveway. You can't miss it, he said in a thick Russian accent. Kerri thanked him and walked off. Getting there was pretty simple, but she knew the fight inside wasn't going to be. A single guard was standing by the oak door of the rustic mansion. Hello, can I please enter? Kerri asked. He's been expecting you, Kerri. The white-suited man said in a deep voice. Oh, okay. Can I enter? Kerri asked. First, fight me, he demanded. He raised a massive wooden club and brought it down hard on Kerri's head, but a massive wind swept the club away from the mansion and frost grew on nearby trees. A blizzard was coming. His move became sluggish and his knuckles grew white. A pocket knife ripped out of his jacket, and he jabbed it at her, but she grabbed his wrist and he gave his whole arm frostbite. Then she controlled the nearby fountain into shards of sharp ice and impaled him through the window. That was anticlimactic, Kerri laughed as she burst down the door. Kerri scanned the area. To the left was a vast kitchen with crystal bowl of fruits. And to the right was what looked like a living room, its sinky leather couch lined with expensive foamy pillows. The curtains were a dark velvety mix of wooden and old windowsill. The hardwood floor was powdered with cuts and dents. Someone was practicing combat. The TV was about 2 meters wide with 4 surround sound speakers. Ahead was a flight of stairs that led to a second and third floor. Mum grabbed Molly and hiked the spiral staircase onto the second floor. On the next floor was 2 agents guarding a steel door, its colour rivaling against the cosy chocolate-coloured walls. Kerri rammed against the wall and shattered the expensive portrait on his head. As he stumbled towards the staircase, the other one tried to message for the others, but Kerri slammed a punch in his ribs instead, directly where his eyes should be. Plant your head into the wall, Kerri demanded. He stared blankly at Kerri, not daring to attack, and fortunately, not disappointing, grabbed the wall and charged his head straight through the hardwood. Good chicken, she said. Okay, that's the end for part 1. I don't want to make these videos too long. So, yeah, keep in mind this is the worst one because it was my first one. So, yeah, thank you. See you on part 2.